In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic on your calculator. So I have a quadratic equation listed right here, 2x squared plus 5x minus 8 equals 0. We want to solve for x. So the first thing we want to do is we want to identify our a, b, and c. Our a is always in front of our x squared. So I have a 2. My b is always in front of the b term, or my linear term, so 5. And my c is always is my last term, the constant. So I have negative 8. Now the quadratic formula would be x equaling negative b, or the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And all of this is going to be divided by 2a. So to write my equation, by substituting the numbers in for those letters, I would have x equaling the opposite of b. So my b is 5. So the opposite of 5 is a negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, and here my b is 5. So I'm going to have 5 squared minus 4 times my a, and my a is 2. My c is a negative 8. Divide all this by 2a, which would be 2 times 2. Now that I have it written in my formula, and I'm going to come and grab my calculator, and we're going to put everything in here. You do have to put it all at once. No, you could solve the numerator first and then divide by the denominator. But I'm going to show you how you can put it all in at once. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my starting parentheses, because I got to group everything in my numerator together. So I have the first part of my parentheses, and I have negative 5. And I'm going to do plus, and then it's the square root, and then it's going to be 5 squared. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if your b was negative, when you square a negative, it's always going to be positive. So for me, when I put that in for b squared inside the radical, I always make this a positive no matter what, because that's going to be a positive result as it is. So whether it's a negative 5 or a 5, when I square it, it's still going to give me a positive 25. So I'm going to use the positive form here. Then I have minus 4 times 2 times a negative 8 end parentheses. And this end parentheses is important because this closes the radical. So I'm really finding the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 8. Then I have to put the end parentheses again because that closes everything in my numerator. So from negative 5 plus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 8, end parentheses, all that is in my numerator. Then I hit divided by, and then here you have two choices. You can multiply the 2 times 2 and say divide by 4, or you can put it in parentheses and then do 2 times 2. If you put it as 2 times 2, you have to make sure that that's in parentheses. Otherwise, it's going to divide everything by 2 first, and then it multiplies your answer by 2. Because again, the calculator will always follow order of operations, which goes multiplication first, and then multiplication the second time. So, or it's going to go from left to right, multiplication division first, and then adding and subtracting last. So to make sure that you don't make a mistake, either do the multiplication in your head here and then divide by one number, or divide by parentheses a number times a number. Now if I hit enter, I can see that I have an irrational number. We're going to round this to the nearest hundredth, which will tell me, I would say one of the solutions would be 1.12. But there's a second solution. So if I hit second, enter, I can re-put everything that I have in here, and it saves time instead of retyping everything. And I just have to change this to a minus sign now, because remember it was plus or minus. Now I hit enter, and it'll tell me a negative 3.61 to the nearest hundredth. So I would have two solutions of 1.12 and a negative 3.61. So that's how you can use your graphing calculator and the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic.